Hi, my name is Tiffany. Welcome to Present for Myself. Thank each and every one of you who have reached out to me to let me know that you want more videos. Hey, Tiffany, we want more videos. Hey, Tiffany, I'm ready for another video. I hear you, and I am going to endeavor to get more content to you this year. I want to talk today about emotional labor. Emotional labor started out as a concept of the amount of energy that we expend, express, use, suppress in order to do our jobs. And by jobs, I mean like our actual jobs where we go in and we work for someone and we collect a paycheck. But kind of started out in that realm, in the workforce. But it has since evolved into a statement. When we say emotional labor now, we mean any type of emotional labor that you utilize to just simply do anything in this world, especially when it comes to your relationships with others. So if you are in a relationship romantically, if you are in a relationship with your colleagues at work, if you're in a relationship with your religious organization or your spiritual organization, whatever that relationship is, emotional labor is required of you in some way. What it looks like inside of the workforce might be you're a customer service representative and you have to go to work. And you're actually depressed that day, but you show up to work anyway, and you have to smile your way through being a cashier. You have to smile your way through being on that phone with those customers all day, barking at you and cussing you out and saying all manner of things to you, because that's the nature of your job. You're supposed to be the one to de-escalate and make it right and see to it that the customer is happy. I remember working for this one particular organization, and it was a really high-end customer service organization, one of the largest tech companies in the world. And I was on the phone and I needed the money at the time really badly. I was going through some things, and just financially, I had to work that job. I needed that job. I was grateful to have it because of who I was working for. But because the level of customer service that was expected so that the customer could be happy was what it was, I really had to endure, or so I thought. So my first week of work, I get this really horrible customer. He's on the phone and he's, just going off on me. And I did everything he asked, like down to I crossed every T, I dotted every I. I was proud of myself internally for meeting every need, every request. But for some reason, for that particular customer, it just wasn't good enough. And he just began to berate me. He began to go off on me. Well, I knew that our calls were being recorded and I could not afford to lose that job. I put him on hold a couple of times just to shed a few tears. Now, in the real world, my personality, I probably would have tried to square up with him, or gotten somebody to help me, because you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. But because I was at my job, which is a vulnerable place to be at, I had to kind of just endure what he was saying and try to de-escalate the situation. Well, when I got off of that phone call, my manager listened to the call shortly after, because we were still in that probationary period. And he called me on the phone, and he first and foremost comforted me, because he could tell that I was really going through it. He could hear the tears in my voice. And he said, don't you ever allow someone to talk to you that way again. And don't you ever put up with that again from anyone. And I was shocked, because I thought surely the amount of emotional labor that I was supposed to put in at this particular job was supposed to meet the upper echelon of service that they're known for. But he told me, he said, no. He said, if I would have been on that call, had I been able to cut in on that call, I would have told you to hang up immediately. So then I said, oh, you mean like just disengage, let him know that? No, he said, I would have told you just to hang up. And he almost said it like he was willing to risk his job to make sure that, I didn't feel like I had to be talked to that way. But he had more authority than me within the company. So he had dealt with people like that before. And that was a valuable lesson for me. What he was telling me was, first and foremost, you don't just let anybody talk to you any kind of way. And secondly, no one should demand that level of emotional labor. This man was cussing me all up and down, calling me all kinds of names. And again, outside of that job, you're not going to be talking to me any kind of way, because I knew I had to make that money to take care of myself. And at the time I was recently divorced, my son as well, I kind of just took it. But he basically was teaching me at that time that amount of emotional labor should not be demanded of you. And so he taught me that there should be some balance there. Yes, as a company, we do expect that you go above and beyond for the customer, but we're not going to sit here and expect you to be talked to like you're just some sort of piece of dirt on the ground. I knew it already, but sometimes when you're vulnerable, you take a lot more off of people than what you really should. And that, brings me to this point. A lot of people are out here struggling right now in this world. They really are trying to just wake up every day and get out there and do what they need to do. All of us have had a moment where we've just kind of woken up and said, I can't do this. I can't, to go into this job, to deal with this relationship, to stay in this marriage, to stay at this location of where I'm working or where I'm worshiping or whatever. It's really began to take a toll on me. And that is the emotional labor that you're putting in. And many times when you're a person who will kind of just take it so that other people don't have to, or because maybe you're in a vulnerable position, it sets you up to be abused in ways that you should not ever have to take. The word abuse means abnormal use of something, or to use it in such a way that it was not designed. As a customer service representative at that job, I was not supposed to be taking that level and that type of abuse. As a wife, as a friend, as a husband, as any professional has a relationship, even as a coach or a therapist or someone, you're not designed to take certain levels of abuse off of people or any type of abuse, of abnormal use off of anyone. We're designed to mitigate, to de-escalate, to try to find common ground, but never that. So when we talk about various relationships, that's what emotional labor is. What are you having to put out there in order to make sure that someone else is comfortable, in order to make sure that something stays right, stays afloat? So what does it look like in a relationship, like say other types of relationships on a day-to-day basis? Like in a romantic relationship or a partnership, emotional labor might look like you doing all of the heavy lifting when it comes to planning the vacations or planning the meals or taking care of the children or planning the schedules. Our son goes here this day, our daughter goes here that day. We have a meeting with the Johnsons next week, or we're supposed to be going out of town, and you're the one that's doing all of it, while the other person is basically just partaking of whatever activities you're planning. And it's not fair. Yes, some of us are better at doing certain things than others are. Some of us just have certain gifts. Maybe one of you is better at doing the bills while the other person is better with planning meals and things like that. But there should always be some sort of a distribution of labor to where one person does not become overly taxed in an area. And both people within that relationship, all parties involved, should be looking out to make sure that the structure of the relationship, the integrity of that structure, allows for everyone to rest, allows for everyone to operate in their gifts, but not to be taken advantage of. So if you're out here doing the most for people, if you're the person that's out here always planning the group activities, if in your friend group, you're the person that everyone relies on, she'll get all the hotels booked and she'll be the person to determine where we go and take up all the money, that family reunion, just leave it to Aunt so-and-so. She's always the person that does this. Or you're the person that's always doing the big Sunday dinners. Or you're the person that's always doing all the holiday planning. You're the person that's always, doing that. That's a lot of emotional labor. And if you find yourself doing that and you're getting burnt out, then you have a name for it now. And you can begin to say, it's not even just the physical labor that comes with it. It's the emotional labor that comes with picking up that phone, getting on the computer and trying to determine like, okay, which hotel is the best? Which one can we use our, points at? Which airline should we fly? That can take a toll. And it goes a lot of times, unsaid because we don't know exactly what it is. We just know we don't like doing it. And it takes a lot of time. But not only does it take time, it takes a toll. And emotional labor can take a toll on your physical and mental well-being. So as you show up for yourself, that's something that you're going to have to learn how to express to people. It's something that you're going to have to learn how to share that, I'm not going to do that. Where else might emotional labor show up? It might show up in the way that you are inside of your relationships with people. For instance, if you are in a friendship where you find that you're the person that's always having to initiate the conversations, you're out to dinner and they have nothing really to bring to the table, no discussions. Let's talk about something. Let's talk about art. Let's talk about medical advances. Let's talk about pop culture. Let's talk about, music. Let's talk about stuff. Let's talk about how you feel about the political climate. It could be anything that you want to talk about, but you're the one that's always carrying the conversation. I'm going to tell you, I cannot deal with people who don't bring anything to the table energetically when it comes to any type of a relationship. The emotional labor that it takes to talk to somebody who just wants you to do all the talking so that maybe they can pick apart what you're saying. That's a whole different, ball game, or don't get me started. Or maybe they just are the type of person that's just low energy. and you're just out here, what do you think about this? And what do you think about it? It's cool, blah, blah. Like, come on. If you're not bringing anything to the table, then I'm not going to sit at the table with you. Find somebody else to do it. Yes, if I come to your party, then you can trust that I'm going to have conversations with people and I'm going to make sure that I contribute in some way. But even as an introvert, I'll do that. I'll come and I'll show up and I'll contribute energy to the party or what have you. But I'm not going to come in there and always be the person to get the party started. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. Now, some people, they live for that, and that's all well and fine, but you have to know for yourself what you can provide. I'm not going to be giving 100% and you're giving 73% or 39% on any given day. Like, let's both come with 100% or let's not come at all. If it does not make sense to the people who you are in any type of relationship with, that they're demanding too much of you and not giving you anything to work with, not taking some of the weight off of your plate. If it doesn't make sense to them, no matter how hard you try to explain it to them, then let me tell you something. At some point, you have to come to the realization that they don't want it to make sense. So emotional labor, it's the fatigue, it's the anxiety, it's whatever comes along with you just feeling like it's not fair that I have to shoulder the weight of all of this while everyone else gets to partake of what I do, and yet they won't take part in helping me to plan it and helping me to facilitate it and helping me to think it through. See, even thinking some things through can be taxing. Let's take going to the grocery store. For some people, going to the grocery store is fun. They go, they pick out their favorite foods, they go to the different little islands and they taste test stuff and all of that stuff. But for some people, it's very extremely stressful. Imagine going when you have a very tight budget and you can't afford certain things and you know you need them, and you're reading the chemicals and the stuff on the back, and you got people in your ear over here on social media saying, stay away from this chemical and stay away from red and 3, DC 85 and 69 and all these kinds of things. And you want to, you seriously want to. You want to make sure that your family is ingesting the best that they can possibly ingest. But then you look at your bank account and you say, I'm going to have to get the generic version, or that can be stressful for some people. So when you're talking about asking someone to plan meals for your family, or even for a party or for any type of thing, think about the emotional labor that's involved in that. Think about what that means for you. So when you're thinking about going to the grocery store, ask yourself, is there a way that you can get any type of assistance or help or anything like that? Ask yourself, why am I so exhausted when I come back? It's not always because it's busy. Think about what you had to do to put that grocery list together and to compare prices and nutrients and all that stuff. Emotional labor, okay? Emotional labor. We are living in a society right now where people have expectations. They have expectations socially. They have expectations emotionally. They have expectations that you're going to just kind of do what it is that they need you to do. And they're not necessarily taking into account what that means. I was just talking about groceries, and I was talking about prices, and I was talking about just, that has to do with the economy. When you think about the economy, you think about, political things, and you think about, socioeconomics, and you think about all of these things. And, we have people out here right now who are protesting and trying to get things taken care of. And then you have certain segments of the population. I'm a Black woman, so I know what time it is, who are saying, I'm tired. I'm tired of always being the one to speak up and to pipe up. That's what some people are saying. And I had to ask myself personally, where am I when it comes to emotional labor? I know me. I know that I had to overcome codependency, that I'm a recovered codependent person, and that I tend to be the person that will always get in there and try to get it done. I know that if you ask me, and I have the ability, that I would be that person. I know that I am a champion for people. I have put myself in harm's way for people who would not lift a fingernail to help me, all because I thought that maybe they'll love me more. Maybe they'll care more. I have been that person who has taken it so that others don't have to. When I participate in society, I'm going to do it in such a way as to be an integral part of the quilt and the fabric that is this world, but not in such a way where all of the weight is being put on me. And I don't care who you are in this world. If you feel that way, then you need to be introspective and ask yourself, what is it for me to do? I'm not going to make apologies for having grown up as a woman or having grown up as a Black person and what that has come with for me and what level of emotional labor it has entailed for me. I had a friend in high school who said to me one time, because she's not Black, she said, when I see you, I don't see color. And I told her, I said, see me and see color. Because the vessel that I walk this planet in, it comes with a certain amount of emotional labor on my part. But I've learned as I've gotten older how to manage that and how not to be overcome with that. People expect me sometimes to explain to them why I should be treated well. They expect me sometimes to explain to them what is so wrong with the way that others have treated me. And I'm to the point where I don't do that anymore, because some things are just obvious. We should be able to look at our fellow man and be able to say, you don't deserve that. I'll do the work. I'll educate myself on what it means to walk in your shoes. It's okay for me to ask a question from time to time. It's okay, if you're trying to really get some insight. But for the most part, there's information out there. You shouldn't put that work on other people to try to always have to be defining themselves for you. Learn about people, learn about cultures. Take the emotional labor off of the plate of the individuals who are having to walk through this world in whatever vehicle or vessel they're walking in. And that, to me, is how you create a society and a world where everyone is doing their fair part. Learn people, learn about people, appreciate other cultures and expressions and the way that people show up in this world. Appreciate, don't appropriate. Love, don't lust after what people have, but love who they are and what they're able to do and what they're able to bring to the table, so that everyone is out here doing their fair share of the emotional labor. I want you as an individual to begin to assess the amount of emotional labor that you're putting into any given situation. And if you don't feel like you're being treated fairly in a situation, be prepared to make adjustments and make sure you're in relationships with individuals who know how to adjust with you, who are not so fixed and stubborn and or lazy that they would rather see you suffer than to change the way they do things, even if the way they do things is causing you to suffer. So choose your relationships wisely so that you can make sure you're in relationships with people, whether it's that group, whether it's that spiritual organization, whether it's that job, whether it's that, lover, friend, whomever it happens to be. Choose relationships with people who want to see you thrive and who themselves want to thrive, to where there's not an inequality in the relationship, to where one of you are always having to give and give and give and the other one is taking and taking and taking. Make it a give and receive. Give and receive. I give to you, you receive. You give to me, I receive. We do together, we work together, we build together, we grow together, we succeed together, we win together, we live together, we thrive together. And no one is tired and exhausted from having to do the work that everyone should be trying to do. Please subscribe to the channel. I want to come before you more. I care about those of you, especially those of you who have been here and who are struggling and who are living your life just trying every day to show up, let alone show up for yourself. But like I always say, regardless of what's going on in this world, find a way to be present for yourself.
Sometimes when we don't know the words we hum,